Hello everybody, my name is Paul, and today we are basically doing, I'm doing, a review of episode 4 of RWBY Ice Queendom. This episode released kind of a shadow drop. There was a trailer, but kind of shadow drop a date. Not really too specific, but yeah. I'm pretty surprised that we have an episode 4 already, which, to be honest, I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry for any background noise. It's basically early in the morning for me, and course, just like I said multiple times, my father is the one who's making all the noise. But the reason for that is because he's getting ready to cook for lunch later today, so or dinner later in the day. So I really don't know. But anyways, just a little disclaimer: this will contain spoilers. However, I'm not gonna go over every single little thing. Other reviewers will be doing that. For now, I'm just gonna be showing you some clips and actually tell you like my thoughts on them, or at least screenshot, or at least some scenes here, and I'll give you my opinions. I did watch the episode at least 3 times, and I must say, before we actually start, this is an actual original episode of RWBY. The original series never did this, unless of course this was in the books for some reason. I do not remember. There shouldn't be any books, trailers, or anything else. I never remembered this in the original series. Now, what episodes 1 and 3 took off was basically volumes 2. 1 to 2. We never got to 3. So 3 might be later. Unless this is going to be a interpretation of volume 3, but I'm not so sure. Again, I watched it 3 times and I don't even remember any of this in the original series. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I think this is an original video, since because just yeah, I really don't know. It's original, which to be again, I know I said this multiple times, but I'm very happy that it is a original episode. That way, RwbyIceQueendom can actually be a side thing compared to the actual volumes of RWBY. I think that's what most people already got for the expectations, but considering how volumes 1 to 3 were, I mean, episodes 1 to 3 were for Ice Queendom, it was kind of scary. But right now, you don't really need to watch any of the RWBY episodes as of now, the original series. You can just hop into this one, because for newer fans, or at least older fans who want to get into the series, I think this is the best place for you to start. But here's the thing. Back at Crunchyroll, episode 1 has disappeared. I really don't know why. Episode 1 it was the best episode out of the 3 initially, but episode 1 is just gone. It's just gone. However, episodes 1, 2, and 3 are separated, so episode 2 and 3 are still on Crunchyroll along with episode 4. Episode 1 is just obliviated. Just gone to oblivion. Sad. But anyways, let's get going. So basically, as you see here, this is actually RWBY in a snow-covered field. Why is she here? Beats me. Honestly, it really just beats me. I really don't know. The episode does not explain this at all. I'll say up straight up right now. The episode does not explain why we're here, how the events have turned out. All we could know that this whole episode is just a dream, which honestly that would make sense. But at the same time, this could have been like a different timeline altogether. Never been really explained. Episode 3 never explained this. So starting off episode 4, cool but very super confusing. Also, we have a little thing here. We have an introduction. The show actually, the episode, the anime actually has an introduction. Now, did they have this introduction before? No, actually. Now, I'm gonna skip right there just so I don't get copyrighted. Now, the thing is, the reason why I don't think the right reason why the theme the theme song, you know, the anime opening, reason why it's not in the original 3 is because those 3 episodes were all together bunched up in an hour or so as a premiere. But considering of this, I think back in Crunchyroll, since all the episodes are separated, I think we will actually get all of them with anime openings. That's what I gotta say. The music is the music's average. The music is average. In terms of like RWBY levels, it's super average. It's good, but for in terms of RWBY levels, it's super average. But considering how like in the original series, I also say like it's good, not great, but it's good. This is just below that. It's average. Don't really like it. But then again, this is a different interpretation, so to each their own, I guess. Kind of want a little more rock into it, but oh well. Is there anything else? Oh yes, we just could see more Ruby later. I know there's some stuff right here. That's more in the introduction. All this stuff here, and we'll skip a little bit more. So these are tokens. These later in the episode, these tokens act like capsules. You know, like capsule corp capsules, like in Dragon Ball. Basically, you can just put one down and it'll just basically transform something, right? But it does have its own scale. It really just depends. But it's very inconsistent on how these work because sometimes you just put one down, there'll be like a meter. You have to put a token inside the meter that the token that came out from the token, and then like it'll transform into something you need, like a telephone booth or a door for some weird reason, and yada yada yada. It's super confusing. It's inconsistent because even though she'll throw a same coin out into the snow, it transforms into a different thing, which is weirdest thing I ever seen. Unless that's another meter, that means every single meter looks different when they come out from these coins. It's consistency is really just lacking in this episode. I feel like they're going for more originality, which is good, but I feel like they're being a little more inconsistent. I think it's kind of impaired in the sense because of volume episode 3 and 4. They're so gapped. So I don't know what just hell. I don't know what the hell just happened. Like in between, we got some white fangs basically attacking the train. Now, oh yeah, forgot. The blood actually does look like rose petals, just like in the original show, which I do actually appreciate. At least that art style is not gone yet. But okay, let's see. We got some robot soldiers and the White Fang. They're going on this train. If I remember correctly, this could be a This is not part of the volume 2, but I think there's a reference to it about them stopping a train. I think. But again, this is only Ruby. Also, I'm not gonna show you this. I'm not gonna show you the clip, but Ruby's crescent rose is not just a gun, but she actually rides it like a snowboard. Makes sense. I mean, in gun form, it's flat enough like a snowboard, and she skates and she snowboards down the mountain. I think. I have to say. That's all I could say for the beginning of this part, basically. Then we get to this, and honestly, like this is actually pretty interesting. Of course, we got a little better close up of Ruby's clothes here, at least her new ones. It's actually pretty nice. Also, logo branding on the beanie. That's nice. Yeah, if you want to know where this phone came from, she basically tossed a coin into the snow, and then it turns to a meter. A meter turns into a phone booth, and then all that stuff. There's a statue. I think it's either a plant or a statue. I really don't know. But this place looks really pretty. But because of how the sky looks, right? Because how the sky looks, I feel like this is basically a barrier of sorts. This could be how the arena would. This could be how the arena would be in volume 3. I think if they're gonna do that interpretation. But this is pretty weird. Every single sign you see here is actually weird. And since because this is an original story, it's hard to tell like what's actually going on. Again, they will not explain any of this throughout the episode. Maybe a little bit, but nothing important basically, except for the part with Weiss. Weiss is in this episode, and she's the only thing that matters in this episode because it's her story. the show's name is after that. Makes sense. Just very confused, in all honesty. So like it's just so weird. Going a little bit more further in, we see just Ruby traversing through the whole thing, and she sees the tower and the city. Now, I could say that this could be Atlantis or Atlas, but this doesn't seem to be the case, right? I mean, like, Ruby herself can't just travel all the way to Atlas, unless, of course, this is Atlas, but it's pretty weird. Also, this scene kind of reminds me of a different anime for some reason. I cannot put my finger on it, but I feel like this could be a reference to, hopefully. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is actually something like reminiscent to a different anime? Because at this point, like, I feel like they're putting a lot of ideas on the floor. This thing was not really explained at all. We don't know where this place is. I don't even remember the names. I watched this 3 times. There are subtitles, I know, but like, I don't. Goddamn. We do go a bit more later into the future, and actually, it is basically a dream world. It is a dream world, but here's the thing: we do not know the full scope of this mysterious character's powers. And remember that mysterious character that was introduced like in volume episode 2, 3. Remember that person? The person who only showed up for like 5 seconds. Yeah, yeah. They are back, and I don't really don't know. I mean, like, this is actually a very interesting part to take for the show now. This is an original story, and to be honest, this seems to be in a dream state of sorts. But we don't know again the person's true power. Does that mean Jean was in the dream world or something? Who knows? But like, at this point, you can see blindfold here, some webs here. So yeah, Ruby is basically in the dream world. I know this kind of again this explains a little bit, but again, not everything. Unfortunately, not everything. I want to know more of this person's powers, so that way we actually do know the full scope, and then we can just focus on what does this all mean for Ruby and possibly Weiss maybe, but I don't know. So those coins, and this is actually the first time I actually saw this. I think every time I kept watching this, I actually look away when this happens. This is the problem with Japanese dubs, honestly. But with the subtitles, yes. So the power of this one is to enter the dream realm. The coins are from this person, and if you use all those coins, she runs out of they run out of aura, and they won't be able to help them in the dream world. That makes sense. That's where the phone came from, and that phone is not connected to anything. Where is consistency, people? Voodoo dolls. Moving on. Now, this scene, we do see Yang and Blake. They're not going to be here for long in this episode, but Yang seems to be the one, if I remember correctly, because, yeah, it should be Yang. I'm not used to the Japanese voices yet, even though I watched the episodes multiple times. I just need to get more used to it because I'm basically a person who watches only the original English version, not the original Japanese version, at least for the original series. So this is pretty much new to me. But yeah, I think at this point, Yang's the one who says that she needs to think of what makes a good teammate, which this is something that Blake supposed to do. Blake was the one who has to think about what makes a good teammate the last time in the original series, but now it's Yang, I believe. And this is pretty strange, but considering how the personalities are very different for Blake, Yang, I did say, is a bit almost the same, but she was a bit more cautious and a bit more scared than her original self in the original series, where she was a hothead, badass, stuff like that, who basically punches first, asks questions later type of gal. And now here it's a bit different. I don't mind the change. Just now we kind of don't have that no, Blake backstory. I'm sorry. Blake character development. We don't really have that, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. I do actually like this scene though, even though it doesn't really fit with anything with a character arc, and even though Yang's character doesn't seem to need that thing, I don't I do not think Yang needs to have this type of character development since because her character currently stands in Ice Queendom doesn't really need this development. Who actually needs this more is actually Ruby or Weiss. Yang and Blake are kind of okay by their own because Yang doesn't have any problems, and Blake's very much like did like a 180 between this version and you know it's been a long time. So I mean, like, not really a long time. I mean, a long train of thought, to be honest. Okay. I think if we continue, it was just them, and then we get back to here. Sorry about that little abrupt cut. OBS just kind of paused it automatically, but yeah, we got this point in time, and Ruby. Yeah, so Ruby didn't want to, I guess, make her way towards it by foot or with her semblance. She just used a door, and the door basically just teleports her. Think of it as the Monsters Inc. door, without the power needed. It's just a dream door, you could say. So she traverses into the Lost City, and we go forward a bit, and then you see the atmosphere kind of change from the inside. Makes sense because this city shouldn't have any snow. Oh yeah, one thing. Ruby right here did complain that Weiss was the one who actually modified her gun. And the gun of the Crescent Rose now is the tip, the the reverse tip of Crescent Rose, not where the big head is, just where the tail is. And that is interesting, to say the least. But again, this is a dream state, so we don't know exactly how this happened. Actually, the more I think about it, there was never mention of Weiss basically doing stuff with the gun. Not in like previous episode. Maybe earlier in the episode, but not in the previous one. This is so confusing. I really don't know at this point. Throughout the most of this time, we just get a little more world building, and oh my fucking god. Okay. Yeah, there's just a little bit more world building here, and I think that should be about it. Now, before I continue on, the last scene you see seen there is basically Ruby as a decoy. That shouldn't really be a thing, but then again, it could just be a dream state thing. So Ruby does not have that power. Just gotta make that clear. Second, is that Aquaman on that poster? But also, secondly, that whole scene I skipped at least 10 minutes of that because it was just world building in this dream state that will never be seen again. So pretty much useless in my opinion. But if you really want that type of world building, I mean that's good, but like kind of not that important for me since because I feel like we're not gonna see this world again after this little arc is finished. Yeah, that's about it. For right now, she's in a warehouse. That's all I could say. Currently, for me, even watching the 3 times, there's nothing actually interesting here. So we'll just move on. You can actually tell that this is a dream state of sorts because of this door. This door can talk. Creepy, too. But you see, like, the other people, at least here, like Jean, Nora, Ren, you have these random people. I don't know if that's another Jean. I think they made a mistake there. But yeah, We don't know if they're also trapped in a dream state. We don't even see that. This could just be Ruby's dream state because she's the only person that we saw. Hopefully this is explained more in the next episode because, again, nothing is explained in this freaking episode. Not much. At least 70% of it is not explained. Only 30% of it was. It was pretty helpful, but not really that much. I feel like there could have been like more that I missed, but I think I kind of dozed off because there was a lot of talking in this episode. In fact, there was a lot more talking in episode 3 and 2. Hmm. I'm starting to think if this is actually a filler episode, which is strange because the original RWBY series does not have filler. This one feels like filler, I guess. Not that I mind filler. This one is actually pretty interesting because this is an original story, but if the original story is part of filler, I don't know. This acts like filler. There are some fight scenes, but they don't last that long. At least for the main character. There was one where the train scene, of course, but that didn't last long as well. I'm starting to wonder if they're just putting stuff on the table. I really don't know. I know I kept saying that, but I genuinely feel that way. So, if you're wondering, yes, these are shadow people. You can tell because they're pasted on the walls. Now, you'll be wondering, where are the real people? Well, that's simple. You can just say that they're in the walls. So we get to here, and this is Weiss. Yes, if you guys don't believe me, this is actually Weiss. Because later in this whole scene, this person's Weiss. That makes sense. And we'll see, we got a little bit of, and then this is where the part we get Weiss's interaction with the father. The father wants her to rule this place and yada yada yada. Make the Weiss make the Schnee family proud, stuff like that. Are you real Schnee? You should kill that person right there. Her person that needs to be killed is Ruby. This apparently throughout this whole thing is not Ruby's, but is Weiss's dream state, which is weird. I guess it's Ruby and Weiss's dream state because this is actually surprising for Weiss to see Ruby. Could this all be like Ruby's dream? Who knows? Never really explained. We never see Weiss being trapped before. I've never seen Weiss having the same predicament as Ruby from episode 3, unless I'm missing. Is it a post-credit thing? I don't think so. But like, so weird. Yeah, so weird. But yeah, this is basically all coming up to a fight, or at least a future fight between Weiss and Ruby in this realm, basically. Did I also mention that just like in the original, Weiss's father has been an asshole this whole time, just like a certain ex-president. May I say more? Also, we are at the end of this section. This book is also a mirror. Look at this photograph. But yeah, this whole section takes 3 minutes. 3 minutes that half of it's necessary, other half not. I feel like they could have done a better job on this. I'm sorry if I'm being more critical, but the reason why is because this is an original story, apparently. So, yeah. And if you guys didn't see my review of episodes 1 to 3, I did say I would review this if the show gave out something more original that stays away from the original timeline, and this kind of is it. So that's why I'm being a bit more critical. I'll give my final results at the end, don't worry. I'm just letting you guys know just ahead of time before the video ends. Maybe I should have said this in the beginning. Okay, this is my second time doing this for at least the RWBY series. So, yeah. Even in the dream world, the moon is still broken. Who thinks that Eggman pisses on the moon still in this world? So, I'm just gonna let you guys know. it was hard for me to actually find a good like clip to talk about because the rest because like the for like the next like six of the episode at the very end is just basically Ruby running around the city trying to find stuff. So basically that's like 5 to 7 minutes of it before we last left off. So yeah. Also, Ruby has been wanted in this realm for some reason. Don't know why, but yeah, never been explained as well. Because she did trespass, but if you guys didn't notice, those wanted posters were there before. Kind of when she got there, they were there before already. Don't really know, but it never been explained. And then we have this interaction. Now, here's the thing. I remember this interaction, a similar interaction from the original series. This is basically the same interaction in Volume 1. But if you guys didn't know, in episode basically 2 and 3, this was never said. It was reserved for episode 4, which makes sense, but this is the dream realm. Is this Ruby reflecting herself, or is this Weiss telling her how she really feels in the dream realm sense because Weiss is in the dream realm and Ruby just happens to be there? Who knows? Also, this also looks like a scene of another anime that I don't really like, but the designs of everything here is just super similar for some reason. Can somebody explain to me why? I really don't know why. I don't know how, but it feels very familiar. Some kind of dormant thing that's in my mind. I just don't know. Yes, Ruby, this has been a thing. And in the original series, you have said this like in volume 2. What happened to this in episode 3 in the series? The timeline's so weird now. I did go back a little bit to show you this. Weiss is Esdeath. Pass it on. Now for this part, it's pretty strange. We know Winter, right? All of us should know Winter. We know what she looks like, and I'm not talking about in the original series. I'm talking about when she appeared in episode 1. Now she's a silhouette. I guess it makes sense since Ruby never saw Winter. But this is Weiss we're talking about. If this is her dream in the realm of dreams, something magic with realm of dreams. So why is she white out? Question on a postcard, honestly. Now I know what you see on your screen is basically a white screen right here, but that is actually Weiss's snow or something that's related to snow. But like throughout this whole thing, we do get an actual fight. Now this is where this diverts both character arcs basically from their original selves. At this point in time, they both agree that they will stop being friends and all that stuff. Now, this is all about Weiss's story, and I did say that she was a bit more better in terms of character, as she wasn't just a spoiled witch girl who was basically racist. She's basically not that racist. She's just she's just has some feelings about the faunesses, and she's a bit more nicer, more humble, and she's a bit more level-headed, and all that stuff. But yeah, the thing is that what Ruby would say is that Weiss is not only embarrassed about being around her, but she doesn't like the fact that she's leader. She doesn't like the fact about Blake at all. She doesn't like the fact that she has to work as a team. So after this, Ruby says is that after she's done helping Weiss here to snap out of this reality, she doesn't want to speak to her again. Now, again, what happened to Weiss? Is this really Ruby's dream, and this basically now turning into a nightmare, or is this Weiss's dream state realm thing, and then Ruby's here to help, but then this is actually Weiss talking and not Ruby's consciousness. Who knows? Who knows? At this point, I really don't know. But I will say this: the fight scene is in this one is good. In terms of standard, it's the same level as in episode 1, which is good. Still a little slow. And again, this is the people who made the Fate series, and their fight scenes are basically pretty fast, but well paced. This still seems slow, which, and you've seen the original show of RWBY, that's not really the case. It's super fast, even though it makes it feel fast. This one makes it still a little slow. But the power and scale is right there. So I'm feeling they're just doing the reason why the movements are slow is because they want to show the impact and power of these moves. You know? That might be it, but maybe that's just me. I think Ruby escaped through a door. That's how. But like the whole fight scene basically takes around like a very good 7 minutes. So that's I think 5 to 7 minutes, so that's pretty good. We get a little bit more through here, and then it kind of stops. Their final confrontation, and this will continue in episode 5. Now, since this is, and also one thing, there is an outro. There is an anime closing, the anime credits, the outro. I'll say this: the outro is actually much more better than the intro. I'll just say that much. And the music's alright. Still not exactly a big fan, but like it's good. It's good. Now, how do I think about this episode? Since because I'm already finished reviewing this. Now, I'm gonna say this: this is an original episode, so I have no way of actually comparing this to the original series. So I have to compare. So I have to do this on my own terms and see how I feel about this. I do like the original story concept. I do like the interactions of Ruby and Weiss here. What I don't like is the lack of ex ex explanations. There's barely anything that was explained in this episode into why we are here. I might have missed something, maybe I did in episode 3, but I do not remember any of this happening at the end of episode 3. Could have been a long time? Sure. Maybe because episode 3 at the ending part was not that memorable. I really don't know. But I don't remember this being a part of RWBY before. And I don't remember, and this episode does not explain the majority of the stuff that's happening in this episode. That's my biggest gripe of this one so far. I hope that this is not a filler episode because this is actually a really good point to start with the story, and maybe more things will be explained in episode 5. I'm really hoping for it because even with the biggest complaint being that I do not understand what the hell is going on in this episode is really good. And since it is original, it is going to be up more higher. It's just below how I would rank episode 1, which was a 9.5. I'll give this episode basically a 8.5. The reason why 8.5 is because that rest of 2 points, no, the rest of a point and a half is basically because nothing is explained in this episode. That's the only thing, that's the only gripe I have. But right now, everything about this, I really like it. The animation, much more smoother. The fight scenes could use the major fight scenes, I should say. The major fight scenes could use a bit more speed. But everything else, every other small fight is actually pretty well done. There is actually gags in this finally. I didn't say this in the previous review of episodes 1 to 3, but there were a significantly lack of gags and jokes. Everything that made RWBY RWBY. the jokes, the gags, the improv, all gone. Like all gone. Almost all gone. There are references to the jokes, but they're so poorly implemented. This one, however, new gags, they're they're like new jokes here. However, they're less funny and more jarring, which also makes it a little funny. You get what I'm saying? But I do like the jokes here. But I feel like the jokes are more cute than funny. That's about it. They need to do a little bit more better with the comedy, honestly. There's barely any comedy gold. So this is basically at the end of the credits scene here. And let's see. The biggest thing I want to talk about before we enter the video is the relationship with Ruby and Weiss here. It is significantly different in a more negative sense. In the original show, the original RWBY series, it was Weiss that was the one who basically didn't want to talk to Ruby anymore. In this one, it's Ruby who doesn't want to talk to Weiss anymore. Could this all be in perspective of Weiss? Possibly. However, because of the new character, that doesn't seem to be the case. This might be an alternate universe, an alternate timeline of events that happen here. I will say a different universe because honestly, if I say timeline, it makes sense. This already would have been a different timelines because of the things that were rushed. Like, yeah. Okay. I think the only reason why that's the only relationship right now in this series, Ice Queendom, is that Ruby is basically having the negative effect of the relationship, not Weiss. I wonder how Ruby will actually cope with this because for Weiss, it was multiple episodes and she came to terms with a lot of stuff. And seeing that the true potential Ruby can do, all she needs a little more training and she has to put a little more trust in her. This is Ruby now. And in her way of coping with this will be a lot more different than how Weiss did in the original series. I'm actually pretty excited to see that. Overall, again, I'll give this episode a 8.5 out of 10. It's a very good episode, and this is an episode I would recommend older fans to watch, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. If you have not watched episodes 1 to 3 yet, watch this one. This is the one where the original timeline comes to a close and where a new timeline starts. So that's about it. Overall, I really do like the episode. Just cannot stand how confusing this is. Nothing is explained. Why are we here? Are we just here to pick the dots up? Is this for theories? I hope not, because we all know how the Furious fandom is in terms of RWBY. Hopefully you guys do, because for newer people who are doing RWBY theories, beware, the fandom is relentless on the smallest detail that you miss. But anyways, that's about it for the video. I'm Senpo, and hopefully Volume 5 explains a lot and will live up to Episode 4. Did I say Volume 5? I mean Episode 5. God damn it. But anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Jesus Christ. The voodoo dolls are really something cute. I wonder if they're gonna make plushies of those.